Did military bases dry up the Middle East? Facts and urban legends. Is the timing meaningful? Hello friends, welcome to the channel. Today, as both a Middle East analyst and a climate scientist who has devoted his life to the atmosphere and climate, we will put on the table a topic that is very wild, highly debated, but also one that must be examined in depth. Recently, there has been a theory spreading by word of mouth on social media, in coffee houses, and even in strategic centers. It is said for years Turkey, Iraq, and Syria were burning dry. Our lakes dried up, our dams emptied. But when Iran struck U.S. bases in the region with missiles, that was the day the spell was broken. The sky opened, rain began falling across the region. The dams filled up. Look, as someone from this region, it is impossible not to be happy when rain falls on these lands. In Syria, Iraq, and Turkey, farmers smiled again. But could there really be a physical, scientific connection between the striking of military bases and the beginning of the rains? Or is this merely a tremendous coincidence? Today in this video, by looking through the eyes of the countries of the region, we will X-ray our drying lakes, military radars, and atmospheric pressure. Take your tea or coffee. We are here to break the cliches. Section 1. The region's lungs had dried up. The bitter picture of the last 5 years. Let us first turn the needle toward ourselves, that is, toward the countries of the region. What happened in Turkey, Iraq, and Syria over the last 5 years? Let us speak with real data, not sell fantasies. Turkey's drying lakes. In the last 5 years, meteorological drought in Turkey advanced so far that it turned into hydrological drought. Tuz Lake, Turkey's second largest lake, receded for kilometers, and thousands of baby flamingos died of thirst. Marmara Lake in Manisa dried up completely and disappeared from the map. The water in Lake Van receded so much that centuries-old microbialites, underwater stalagmites, emerged into daylight. Istanbul's dams, such as Ali Beykoy and Ömerli, had fallen to occupancy levels of 15 to 20%. The cry of Iraq and Syria. The flow rate of the Euphrates and Tigris rivers fell by nearly 60% over the last 5 years. In Iraq, the famous Mesopotamian marshes, the Ahwar, dried up completely, and water buffalo perished from thirst. In Syria, agriculture collapsed because of drought, and millions of people were forced to migrate. Right in the middle of this desperation, U.S. bases in the region, Ain al-Assad and Harir in Iraq, Al-Tanf in Syria, Kurechik and Incirlik in Turkey, became centers of military activity, and then those well-known attacks took place. After the bases were hit, yes, a serious wave of rainfall began in the region. But why? Section 2. What is the real purpose of these military bases? What do they have to do with the sky? Now let us put on our military analyst hat. Why are these bases there, and what are they doing? U.S. bases in the region, and especially radar stations, for example, the Kurechik radar base in Malatya, or other cyber/electronic warfare centers in the Middle East, use very powerful radars called X-band radars. Their task is this: to instantly detect a ballistic missile launched from thousands of kilometers away, to carry out signal jamming, and to collect cyber intelligence. The popular theory. These radars emit electromagnetic waves at such high frequencies that they disrupt the balance between low and high pressure in the region. By affecting the ionosphere, they prevent clouds from condensing and create an artificial curtain of drought. When the bases were hit and the radars shut down, the clouds were released. So what do I say about this theory as a climate scientist? let us look at the scientific truth of the matter. Section 3. What does science say? Can radars prevent rain? Friends, this part is very important. Let us speak the truth directly without hurting or offending one another. There is a fact that scientists such as Professor Dr. Miktat Kadioğlu, one of Turkey's most respected meteorology experts, have emphasized for years in their articles and statements. No human-made electromagnetic signal or radar can change atmospheric pressure systems on a macro scale. Why? Let me explain simply. The energy dimension. The energy required for a rain cloud to form and release precipitation over a region is equal to the energy of thousands of nuclear bombs. The generators or radar transmitters of a military base are not even a drop in the ocean compared with this enormous atmospheric mechanism. The truth about air pressure. The real cause of the drought we have experienced over the last 5 years was not the signals emitted by bases, but the Azores high-pressure system expanding, due to global climate change and settling like a shield over Turkey and the Middle East. This shield pushed the rainy, cold air waves coming from Iceland northward, toward Europe and Russia. So why did it rain now? During the period that coincided exactly with Iran striking the bases, a major break occurred in the global El Niño and La Niña cycles. Atmospheric jet streams shifted, and that famous high-pressure shield broke apart. In other words, the beginning of the rains after the bases were struck was simply the overlap of a meteorological cycle change with the military calendar. There have been many similar coincidences in history. For example, when the oil wells in Kuwait were set on fire during the 1991 Gulf War, acid rains also fell in the region. But that was because the massive particles, the soot released by the burning oil, created a cloud seeding effect. It had nothing to do with radars. Section 4. The real climate damage caused by military bases. From an activist's perspective. So are the bases completely innocent? You may ask. Absolutely not. As a climate activist, I say this. Military bases and wars do affect the climate, but not through frequency. They affect it through their carbon footprint and environmental destruction. Massive carbon emissions. The Pentagon, the U.S. Department of Defense, produces more carbon emissions than many developed countries in the world. The jets, tanks, and huge air conditioning systems operating at those bases release terrifying amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This fuels global warming and therefore drought in the long term. Poisoning of groundwater. Around the bases in Iraq and Syria, military waste and jet fuels such as JP-8 seep into groundwater sources. In other words, maybe the bases do not prevent rain, but they poison the clean groundwater and soil where that rain collects. Behind the increase in cancer cases among local populations, Iraqis and Syrians, lies this military pollution. Nature's own revenge. To summarize, dear friends, the beginning of the rains after the bases were struck is a tremendous coincidence born from the human desire to explain great events in nature through the political events we ourselves create. It is psychologically understandable, but scientifically baseless. As the peoples of the Middle East, what we really need to focus on is not unplugging radars, but jointly fighting the lasting chemical damage left on these lands by global imperialism and the global climate crisis that leaves us without water. Nature does not recognize borders or bases. Sooner or later it finds its own balance. What do you think about this issue? Do you also think this is merely a coincidence, or is it nature's mysterious response to military activity? Let us meet in the comments. Do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Stay with nature and science. Goodbye.